Hello, my name is Charles Tackett, and I'm going to be introducing to you the Ohio Resident Educators Program through my PowerPoint presentation. The Ohio Resident Educators Program was implemented in 2011. It is a comprehensive 4-year program. The goal of this program is to assist beginning teachers through mentoring and professional development opportunities to enhance their teaching. This program is to take place in the first year of their teaching career. The Resident Educators Program is designed to improve teaching retention along with enhancing teacher quality, along with also focusing on student improvement and test scores. This program is viewed as a pathway to enhance their teaching, their professional learning growth. The Resident Educators Program is geared towards effective practices. They in turn start to develop excellence in their teaching growth. Teachers successfully complete program requirements in RESA, which is the Resident Educator Summative Assessment, in year 3 of the program. Like I mentioned in the previous slide, the RESA component of this program takes place in year 3 of the 4-year program. In the 4th year, exploring leadership is stressed in the program. After the Resident Educator program is complete, the teacher is eligible for a 5-year professional teaching license. Now we're going to go into the certain specific things within the program. Eligibility for the program. You have to be in the possession of a correct Ohio Teachers Educators license. You have currently been employed in the appropriate educational setting, was in charge of developing and teaching students pre-K through 12, and you worked in a school setting for at least 120 days of the school year. Resident educators are required to complete the Ohio Teachers Evaluation System, OTES, self-assessment and growth plan every year. This is a yearly thing that you have to do. I've been doing that ever since this has been put into place in the state, and it's just something you have to go through. It has many layers that has to be looked at and taken care of through your school district. So it just looks at my assistant principal, my assistant superintendent, and superintendent sign off on these. Very important things. Next step in the Resident Educator program is mentoring. Mentoring takes place in the first 2 years of the program. The resident educator is paired up with an ODE state certified mentor approved through your school district. The mentor's job is to work closely with the resident educator on completing the requirements necessary for the program. Resident educator and mentor work closely together on teaching and learning cycle. Components in this cycle are plan, teach, assess, reflect, and revise. Within the teaching and learning cycle, when you're planning, you need to be using Ohio Learning Standards, and you need to develop appropriate goals and objectives for your lessons. Teaching, you need to have a smooth transitions through your lessons, and you need to have the ability to adapt during your lessons. Assessing, you need to look over your students' data and see how to use it more effectively in your teaching. Revising, and this is what all teachers need to do, I need to do this myself, reflect on your lessons during and after. Tasks that the resident educators will have to complete focus on things such as self-assessment, goal setting, reflection of their work, which we already talked about that in the teaching and learning cycle, and decision making within their work, which we also kind of talked about, which in the teaching and learning cycle. These are all necessary tasks that need to be completed in the first 2 years of the program. They will be working with their mentor on constructive, effective lesson plans through the teaching and learning cycle for their students. They'll also be required to break down student data along with their students' work and test scores through the teaching and learning cycle. The resident educator mentor is guiding these tasks to be accomplished in these 2 years. All school districts have different policies and procedures for their resident educators. Know what your school district is expecting you to accomplish will make things go a lot smoother. RESA is scored by a licensed Ohio professional teacher who has at least 10 years of teaching experience in the field. Resident educators are required to pass a methodical certification test. Assessors, which is the people scoring this, review and provide feedback in line with RESA and domains criteria. Understanding assessment. In year 3, you'll be getting ready to take the resident educator summative assessment. Before you take the assessment, it is good to understand the assessment. The assessment requires one lesson reflection. Resident educator is demonstrating reflection and decision making. Also, RESA is proctored by a company called Teach Forward. And then it says you need to supply content for a lesson, required to video your teaching, and answer a series of short questions about your lesson as well. Resident educators obtain assistance in redefining their reflections and decision makings in their classroom instruction. And that comes through the assessors. They'll help them throughout the year with helping them, give them good feedback and things of that sort. Resident educators need to realize that these skills are important in preparing for performance-based tasks required within the RESA assessment. So the more you work on these skills, the better it's going to be, and the better you're going to perform on your RESA. Like we talked about before, RESA is required to take RESA assessment in the 3rd year of the program. Some resident educators granted prior teaching credit and take assessment in the 2nd year of the program, which is kind of nice if you can, but some people cannot. But they have to have prior teaching credit to do that. RESA, through the RESA assessment, they analyze and reflect on their teaching. The resident educators are allowed to choose their best lessons and practices they have used to submit into RESA as evidence. Through this year, the resident educator reviewed score reports that provided important feedback. The resident educator can use this feedback to work with their mentor in ways to improve their results. If your score reports are low and need to be improved, you only have the current school year to improve your scores. If you are unable to pass RESA due to your assessments being lower than expected, then you are required to take it again the next school year. Year 4 of the Resident Education Program focuses on exploring leadership. School districts set specific activities for teachers participating in this program. These school districts are also determine the policies and procedures for these documented activities. The Ohio Department of Education has a very helpful online module called Learn to Lead. You can access Learn to Lead at the attached tab. To completely access the program, you need to use your OHIE ID account information. Also, goal of Exploring Leadership is to engage the resident educator in exploring and thinking about all aspects of leadership. Final step of the Resident Educators Program is, after you have met all the required steps in the program, the resident educator is allowed to apply to further their teaching license to obtain a 5-year teaching license. I've constructed a quizzes for you to take over my PowerPoint. Please click on the quizzes link and use the game code 4719180. Quiz contests 5 multiple choice questions and 1 open-end question. Should take you about 3 or 4 minutes to complete. This slide contains the research I use on my PowerPoint. Thank you for listening to my PowerPoint presentation on Ohio Resident Educators Program. Thank you.